So I was driving around, and I always try and check out the local used car lots, because you never know. Tim's Auto Sales, they got a little body shop. They always have interesting stuff on the lot. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw this 280ZX, and I used to have one. So it got me to thinking, what would it take to get that thing up and running again? Check it out. So there it is. It's really cool. Now it's the ZX, so it's not the 280Z, it's not the 260, it's not the 240. So spoiler alert, they're not as sought after, but they're coming up. So the early Z cars, of course, they're the classic ones, modeled after the E-Type Jaguar. Lots of great history with these cars. They're two-seat cars. The one that I had, it was a 79, and this one's a 79. And I talked to Matt, the guy that owns Tim's Auto Sales, and he said I could poke around on it. So we're gonna check it out. What I like about this car is that it's not a T-top car. Nothing against T-tops if you guys are T-top guys, but this one, for me, it's a stiffer chassis. There's gonna be less flex when you're doing autocrossing or whatever. It's a two-seat car, and I guess it's all there, sort of. The paint's mangy. So let's smoke it over. So just on the outside, obviously we're gonna need tires, but we're looking for rust. There's no rust here. The rockers, they're fairly solid. We got some cancer right here, lower part of the quarter panel, but the doors, for the most part, unless this trim is hiding something, they're in good shape. Right here, well, oops, I broke it. Right here, that's just misalignment right there. And I never understood these things on these cars. I guess it was a dealer option, maybe it was a Nissan option, maybe you guys can tell me that, but they're screwed into the sheet metal. That's typically what causes these cars to rust, a lot. Up under here, the wheelhouses are actually good. Yeah, there's no rot up in, there's no bubbling, and right in here, and I'm trying to figure out whether this is, I don't think it's original paint. I don't know, it's hard to tell. I don't think it is, though. So we'll come around the back. All right, so these taillight lenses are not for this car. This is from a turbo car, and they're newer, I think. Yeah, I'm certain of that. So typically the taillight lenses are different. Okay. Oh my. Oh, okay, so this is bad. Check that. That's really bad. That's a ventilation hole, right? I don't know if there's a patch panel available for that. Okay. All right, so that means I'm gonna have to dig a little bit farther. I want to prop this up because I want to check this out. Center console. Hey, and that's not in bad shape. Okay, all right, so console lid. All the stuff seems to be here. Boy, I'm gonna try and find a stick to open that up. All right, so I found an old S10 grill. I'm gonna try not to break it, but these struts are just wore out on the bed. I want to get down and look at not only what's here, hope there's no snakes here, but also the condition of the floor pan in the back. And all of this stuff, believe it or not, parts are hard to find for these cars. There's no store that you can go to. There used to be a place called Victoria British that you could get replacement parts for, but because it's the less popular Z car, there's really not a lot of aftermarket for this vehicle. So things like this, in good shape, that just means that would be less hunting and interneting and eBaying that it would take to make this car whole again. Okay, so I'm okay with this. So here, floor is solid. Back here, hey, there's the fuse door panel. Inside, the quarters look good. That's not rotted. I don't see any signs of wreck damage. It's just with the spare tire well is just toast, man. It's gone. It's absolutely gone. But hey, that's just sheet metal, right? Places like this, it's actually in pretty good shape. Fuel, hat. All right, so there's something to work with here. It's not bad. Where I don't like is this right here. It's starting to bubble up rusty here. These hatches are terrible. They're bad for that. And even on the top of it. Right here, it's starting to bubble up. So we'd have to strip that down to metal, possibly do some rust repair. And I don't know, man. Maybe if it's not rusted through, if it's just on the surface. Look at that. I'm scraping it off with my thumb. Maybe. All right, all the emblems seem to be good. All right, let's go to this side. Okay, I think we found the reason that the spare tire well is absolutely rotted out. We've got a ventilation port right here, so the side glass is gone. So, and again, on this side, super solid. That's encouraging. The rocker on this side, it's solid there, but when I look up to the front, we've got a bit of rust through on the front of the outer rocker. When I'm looking at a car to buy, I'm looking at the pinch welds, and this kind of comes from my days in collision. Oh, there's some rods. If I see pinch welds that are all hamburgered up and with clamp marks on them, then I know the car's been in a wreck, and it's not a deal breaker, but it's a caution. But I'm looking for rust, and I'm trying to see. Okay. All right, it's bad news. There's a little bit of rot in the frame rail on this side. I saw some frame rails online, so I know that's a possibility. And again, you know, I know a guy. We got fab tools. We can figure something like that out. But for the most part, the floors seem to be okay. Oh, yeah. That smells good. There's some spiders inhabiting, so yeah. All right, so we've got, look at the dash. It's horrible. Look at that. You can hear how horrible the dash is. That vent, no. Okay, bad news. I love the configuration of the gauges here. We've got a voltmeter, clock, oil pressure gauge, temp gauge, gas gauge, speedo and tach. Super, super simple. I had my little 79Z cruise control. I love it. And this one is a 5-speed, so it seems to go in all the gears. I don't see any weirdness or feel any weirdness. We can figure out where to get a headliner. Somebody's got one somewhere, right? Here's really what I wanted to look at. Oh, there's a giant family of insects. Thank you for putting this down, because it absolutely wicks water in and holds it there. Whoever did this, I want to pinch you right on the nose. All right, so toe boards, yeah, we're going to need some help there. Okay, yuck. Oh, gross. Oh, I got it on me. Ah! Ah! Okay. I don't really like these mirrors anyways, but both of them are hamburgered like that. They're all messed up. Okay, so this is I'm seeing lots of things I like, and then I see this, which I don't like. But, you know, I don't know. All right, so let's look under the hood. Now, I talked to Matt. He said the car runs when you put some starting fluid in it. So I don't know whether that means that the fuel pumps don't work, but it does run. when I had mine, even then, the bellows here for the air meter, they always crack. They dry rot and crack. And there's 4011 vacuum lines here, and the vacuum lines, yeah, they deteriorate, and air leaks on these cars will cause weird hunting issues with the throttle and stumbles and no starts and all kinds of stuff. Everything looks like it's here. Clutch master cylinder has no cap on it, and it's all corroded down inside the reservoir. So I'm thinking that that's going to have to be replaced. What even is this doing in there? So I'm looking at the frame rails. I don't see rust through. Drier than popcorn farts. Some good news. The hood is not rusted out. These hoods are really prone to rust, especially at the lip and the bottom. And it looked good to me when I first looked it over. A little bit of rust there, that's not bad. This is where the battery sits, so that's probably some sort of a corrosion issue here. Here's our battery cables. So the battery box, actually, it's not bad either. These are prone to rust underneath here. Okay, so that's, oh, nope. Listen, that's a good sign. So, okay, that makes me happy. Underneath the battery box, here's a frame rail. It's surface rusty, but it's not completely corroded rust. Cruise control, vacuum reservoir is still here. Everything seems to be here. What does the oil look like? There's lots of it. It doesn't look... It still smells okay. There's no milkshake look to it. So I'm going to just say that Matt's probably right. I don't think he's given me a line saying that the thing runs. Keeping it running, I guess that's an issue too. So overall, not horrible news under the hood. This gives me concern. I don't know what that's doing there. That's some grade 8 hardware from somebody, and it's bent. I don't know what that's about. Uh-oh. Okay, right here. If we look straight down there, it's a 3-piece valance on these cars. This is a bolt-in piece. It's just absolutely rotted out. But the rails are good. This weird rust on this car. So the grill is okay. Left and right valance pieces are okay, but the centerpiece, maybe I can find one on the webs. Or maybe I can make one. I don't know. Thank you, Datsun, for not having a latch on either side like Jaguar did, and just having one in the center. Thank you for that. Jaguars are silly cars like that. All right, so right here, this is where these cars typically rust on the hood, right across here. This one doesn't have any rust on it, so I'm very thankful for that. Bumpers seem to be in okay shape, a little bit of surface damage here. All right. It's not a running and driving car, but it does run. I believe Matt. So, what's it gonna take? So, like we usually do, I'm gonna give you a perspective on what I think it would take to put this thing back together again, get it running, including a paint job, because gosh bless, it just needs it, as from a DIY perspective, as well as what I think it'll take to send it somewhere and have them do it. Is this car worth it? It's the least desirable Z car. It's the ZX 79 and up. It's the model number is S130. Are they worth it? I can find them on Marketplace all day long, starting at about $1,500 for absolute garbage. And this one's not absolute garbage. It's mostly all there, and there's some issues with it, but it does run. So $1,500, and I found some for $28,000 to $30,000. on Marketplace for super nice cars, maybe with 50, 60,000 miles on them. They're gonna get long in the tooth. Here's the other thing. I saw 2 cars auction off this last year at Mecum. One of them, an 81 model, went for $150,000. Another one, super low mile, very special car, almost no miles on it, went for $231,000. Yes, the ZX cars. So these cars are finding their own in the marketplace. So is it worth it? I don't know. Will you get upside down in it for today's market? I don't know. In my mind, because I love these cars, because I used to have one, I want to go through the motions and see what it's going to take. So let's take a look at it with different eyes. All right, so looking at it with new eyes, I'm going to go around it with my wheelhouse in mind, which is paint, body, and restoration. So here we go. We got a front valance. The side pieces are okay. They're good and, well, they're okay. I can fix them. Maybe we get a new piece. I saw one online for $300 for the 3-piece set. Maybe we can do a little bit better than that for the 1-piece in the middle. Fenders are okay. Even inner wheelhouses are okay. Obviously, we're going to need some skins. We're going to need some tires. A little bit of body work here. There's a couple hours damage there. We got to strip it down to metal, all of it. So that's a lot. Some surface rust here. I'm very unhappy with this, but again, it's only metal, just like Brian Finch once pointed out to me. We'll pull this apart. I'm going to say 6, 7, 8 hours rust repair there. Top is in good shape. It actually feels pretty straight. All the door handles are good. Obviously, we're going to need seat upholstery because, dang, it's just stinky. I'm going to assume that some of the electronics are still good, the power window switches, things like that. But I'm assuming this side is going to be the same as the other side, and we're going to need... I'm just going to assume that there's some pinholes in there, and we're going to need some floor pans. Somebody's been in there before and tried to cover it up and did a homemade carpet kit. Speaking of carpet kits, I found one online. They range for the front and even the rear deck set between $250 and $400. We'll split the difference, $300 for a carpet set. Upholstery, seat upholstery. You know, I could get some Pro Car seats for a few $100. We can probably get an upholstery kit for these for, let's say, just another $400 for some decent looking leather upholstery. The dash, my gosh, the dash is terrible. We're gonna have to have at least a dash cover. There's a company called Coverlay that makes an ABS cover that goes over top of that, and it just glues in. And I think I've seen them look pretty good. That one's pretty much toast, so I might have to look online for a dash. Steering wheel's okay. We need a headliner. Let's keep on going. Glass on this side for most of the cars. I wonder what happened to the glass on the other side. We're going to need weather seals. So if somebody makes those, great. If not, and I'm in big trouble, we need a set of taillight lenses, because even if these, I don't care that they're the wrong ones, but these are in terrible shape. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the stuff that's back here is savable. Console lid, center console looked good. Interior pieces, I've stacked them neatly over here and cataloged carefully everything that I put out here. Oh yeah, that's a janky dash cover right there. So somebody, whatever, at least they cared enough about that. Armrest, we're going to say that the interior is reasonably complete and that I don't have to go and outsource a bunch of stuff. Here's one of the side panels. Again, it's not totally disintegrated. We can work with that. I've probably got at least 4 to 5 hours sheet metal repair underneath in the spare tire well, if I can find a patch panel. If not, I'm going to be making it myself. I don't know where somebody would find that. This is interesting. 2013 was the last time this was on the road. No real body work on this side. There's an hour's worth of surface rust there. We're going to have outer rocker panels. I did see them somewhere online. So outer rockers on both sides, let's just assume. We've got a couple hours body work here. I can't believe that the car is actually not smashed anymore. I don't see any signs of wreck damage. There's no wrinkles. A little bit of panel misalignment here, but I don't see where this thing's been wrecked. So that's good news. It has been painted once. Now we're seeing signs of that, but it is the original color. We need a set of mirrors. And just because, yeah, I can see some holograms and stuff in the glass. I don't know. Does it need a windshield? Let's just say no for now. Maybe somebody can get a windshield down the road. All the trim, all the stainless is in good shape. Belt line moldings are in good shape. Hood vents are in good shape. Headlight buckets are all there. The wheels are the same on this side, but when we look at the other side, we've got a mismatched wheel. This is from a later car, I think, into the early 80s, if I'm not mistaken. But my 79 had this style wheel. So just to be absolutely crystal clear, I'm going to look at the VIN tag. Yeah, and that's showing me 6 of 79. We know 100% it's a 79, which is really kind of cool for me. So it's all there. As far as getting it running, I don't know, man. It does run. Transmission seems okay. It's gonna need a clutch. Maybe. I don't know if it's gonna need a clutch. Oh, let's check. It's gonna need a clutch. The pedal went right to the floor. It could be just the pressure of the master cylinder. So at least, at very least, we're gonna need to whatever. We'll pull it apart and see. But all right, so obviously we're gonna need a set of tires. There's actually one that holds air, but it's on the wrong wheel. So I'm gonna have to outsource a wheel to match those or go with a complete aftermarket set of wheels. For now, I'm gonna price out one of those wheels online. And did I mention there's no aftermarket for these cars? So we're looking for an original window. I did find a pair of them for $100 on eBay. So if they're sold, I don't know. Maybe let's just say $100 for a window. When I look at the exhaust system, actually it's intact. The pipe, even the back resonator is okay, but when you look at the tube up there, it's kind of hamburgery. So probably have to figure a few $100 for an exhaust system also. But the rear valance isn't rusty. It's so interesting how this car is rotten some places, and places like up in here where they're typically rusty, it's just not. So we're gonna need a clutch master cylinder, probably a clutch. I think the transmission's okay. Let's just factor in a complete realigning of the brakes and a suspension overhaul as well. Yes, we're gonna need a battery. We might need a battery tray. Maybe this one will clean up. I'm not gonna depend on this radiator. It's bone dry and completely empty, and the hoses are still on, so that tells me the core is probably leaking, so we need a radiator. Power steering reservoir, there's a line that's not hooked up. So maybe that's not in the best shape either. Who knows about the electricals? And it might be an expensive proposition to get this sucker running again, but that's the cards we're dealt, right? But at least it's all here. So if you got DIY skills and you can do a lot of this stuff yourself, here's what I think it's gonna take to get this car back up and running and in super great condition again. So you're looking at about 15 hours of rust repair on the body, probably another 10 to 15 hours of rust repair on the floors and rails. There's about 5 hours body work. There's very few dents on this car, so the real cost is stripping the paint to metal. Now, if you do it with a sander, think about 20 hours or so. That brings body work up to about 50 labor hours. Consider about $1,000 worth of primer, filler, and masking supplies too. Then we could start thinking about the paint job, which is going to take another 20 to 30 hours to prep and shoot because you got to pull the panels off, and let's do it right. With the increasing cost of body supplies and paint, I think about $2 grand for paint would probably get it done with a decent system. So let's talk about hard parts. There's almost no aftermarket support for the ZX cars or the S130 platform. So it's a lot of digital swap meets and a lot of hunting. So what's your time worth? Tires, $300. Found a new wheel for $200. Ouch, just one wheel. Carpet is going to be about $300. Leather seat upholstery is about $500, but it'll be cool. The dash cover is about $160, $100 for a quarter glass. Front valance, $200. Weather seal for the hatch was $170. 4 new struts for $160 for all 4. Clutch master cylinder I found on Rock Auto for $60. $150 for miscellaneous brake rebuild parts, wheel bearings, tie rods, and let's throw in another $700-ish because we got to do exhaust, and so there's going to be stuff we missed. It runs, but to keep it running, I'm going to throw $1,000 at it just in case there's hard to find expensive bits. So rounding up, that gets us to about $3,500 for parts. So 80 hours labor, $3,000 for paint and bodywork supplies, $3,500 in parts, plus the cost of the car at $1,500 gets us to about $8,000 spent if we can do it ourselves. Now, if you love these cars and you don't have any skills, you've got to farm out all the labor and outsource a shop or a series of shops to refurbish and restore this car. Here's what I think you're looking at. Ka-ching. Count on about 15 grand for rust repair and body parts, and throw in another 10 grand for a decent paint job. Parts with markup is going to be about 4,500 bucks-ish, maybe more, and I'm going to add on about $3,500 to get it mechanically sound with some chassis and brake maintenance and repairs. So if you drop it off at a shop and turn your back and wait for the phone call when it's done, I think it's going to cost about $33,000 to $35,000 to make this car amazing again. And also, it's a lot of work. It's not going to be done in a couple of weekends. So it's going to take the shop a long time to do it. So you're going to have to be patient. So you got two perspectives there. You can do it yourself, fix it up, have a great car, and in my opinion, you could get into it for a future market value that's going to continue to go up and up and up in this car. So to me, there's no downside in taking this one and refurbishing it and putting it back on the road and making it super nice again. Even if you're outsourcing, it might cost you a lot, but again, you got to think over the horizon and think about down the road what this car is going to be worth. And the bar is set pretty high, $231,000 for, granted, a pristine example that is low miles and a very, very special car. But they're finding their own in the collector market. The market is rising up to recognize these cars. So here's my perspective on this car. It's a 79, just like mine was. It's a no T-top car, just like mine was. It's blue, just like mine was. And when I see this car, when I caught it out of the corner of my eye, all these memories started flooding back. And I bought mine literally out of the classified ads in the Huntsville, Alabama newspaper for $250. It was wrecked in the front. I was working in a collision shop. It was just at the very start of my career. And I found a front clip, and I couldn't even weld. I didn't even have a welder in my shop, and I had somebody put the front clip on for me, and I begged, I borrowed, I fabbed, I stole, I traded favors, and I made that car something that I could be proud of, and it really meant something to me because it cost me so much. I had no money. I was just starting out in collision repair. I was coming off a failed career in a whole other way to make a living, and to bring this car back, it meant something to me. And I brought it back, and it looked great. And you know, we talk about the one that got away. I ended up selling it because we sell things sometimes, and I regretted selling it. And I have always thought about that car. So when this one showed up for me, it brought all that stuff back. So it made me want to build this one. And it's not that I don't care what it costs, but I'm in a different position now, and I can take this car and I can do the things that I couldn't afford to do back when I first had mine decades ago. And I can make this car, I can make it great again. And regardless of whether it's worth it to fix up from DIY or farm it out, guess what? We're gonna find out. Because this one's coming home with me, because I couldn't let it go. And you can follow me along with this one. We're gonna do a bunch of YouTube on it, and we'll see. I'll come clean, I'll be honest, exactly what it takes to make this thing what, not only what I remember from my car, but a really great version of what this car can be. And yeah, so here we go. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.